Our last story today concerns the drought in the western United States. It's hard for us in the east to comprehend that even in normal years, rainfall is scarce in the west. California is now enduring a record drought, which is entering its third year. Farmer water allocations are being cut dramatically. Our last story was shot when there was still a chance some snow might fall and help the situation. Rain has fallen recently, but this moisture is a long way from shaking the thirst of farmers and the state's millions of residents. Market to Market's Andrew Bott reports.
When gas is $5, $6 a gallon, usually we can adjust, right? We could raise our price of hay. We could raise our price of doing tractor work. We could raise our price, we have a little construction business. We could raise that. But if it don't rain, how do you adjust that? You can't.
Frank Imhoff has spent his entire life along the hilly ranchlands of west central California. His cattle operation was passed down from his father, who took ownership from Frank's grandfather. And all throughout those 3 generations of Imhoffs, they've never seen anything like this.
It's all the way down, there ain't nothing there. There's grain that hasn't popped out yet. And there ain't enough moisture there to sustain that for very long, I wouldn't think. So is it the worst? Yeah, it's definitely the worst.
Imhoff's hundreds of acres of farmland, much of it used for hay production, are dry and fallow, following an unrelenting barrage of warm weather and bone-dry conditions.
Our daily average is 57 degrees, and we're at, what the hell are we at? 77 yesterday?
Frank's plight is emblematic of cattle ranchers throughout California, all suffering under the worst drought conditions in recorded history as they make tough decisions on culling their herds. Imhoff's additional grazing ground, within a stone's throw of the San Francisco Bay, often requires pumps to keep the water table from seeping in, but not this year.
My wife did not come from a farming background, and she thinks this is pretty close to the end.
The Golden State is a hotbed of extremely dry conditions, with more than 95% of California in some stage of drought. 70% of the state is categorized in either extreme or exceptional drought. More than 150 miles away from Imhoff's cattle, in the Sierra Nevada foothills, the massive dam at Lake McClure shows how severe California's situation has become for the region's entire water supply. A dramatic drop in the water level here has revealed a 1920s-era dam, usually tucked below hundreds of feet of lake water.
Our economy, 1/3 of it is driven by agriculture. Given our economy and our way of life here at Merced, it's, I think to look at this lake this low is heartbreaking is probably the word for it.
Mike Jensen with Merced Irrigation District points out that Lake McClure's role as a multi-purpose water reservoir serving California's Central Valley could be tasked to a breaking point in 2014.
We are going into what appears to be the 3rd dry year. We've had 2 consecutive dry years in 2012 and 2013. And as of now, this is one of the driest years we've got on record for Merced Irrigation District. The lake capacity itself is 1 million acre feet, and we are down to less than 22% today.
Water now slowly seeping out of Lake McClure descends towards the Central Valley via the Merced River, before massive pumping stations throughout the valley irrigate farm fields filled with everything from lettuce to almond trees. California produces 1/3 of the nation's fruits and vegetables. For growers and processors like Jeff Marchini, it's a combination of focusing on both short-term shortages and long-term solutions.
Almonds are a permanent crop, but there's going to be a lot of ground that's fallowed this year because of a lack of water, and there's only X going around. So you're going to see growers take whatever allocation they have or whatever fine amount of water and use it maybe to keep their permanent crops alive. And fallow those rotational crops. So there's going to be a lot of things that are just not going to get planted.
Marchini's almond facility is still cleaning and processing 80 million pounds of fresh product annually, but his fields outside are carefully allocating precious moisture through pivot and drip irrigation. Marchini and other growers are concerned that farmers dealt with acre inches of water from the Merced Irrigation District will simply turn to their only other option, pumping from deep underground aquifers and further depleting the region's water table for generations to come.
We don't like pumping out of those aquifers unless we really have to. Why? Because it is a precious resource, and we know there's unknowns on how much exactly is out there.
Back upstream at Lake McClure, water officials know their hope of a seasonal snowpack recharge is dismal at best.
We're watching the weather as close as anybody, and it's frustrating. We still do have a couple of months of winter left, so things could change. We're not terribly optimistic at this point. We're planning for a dry year.
Lake McClure's water level is largely recharged from this famed valley, known as Yosemite National Park. But the conditions here have been so warm that hikers have soaked in 60-degree temperatures in January, as the tallest waterfall in North America is nothing more than a trickle. The promise of a snowpack recharge is almost non-existent. The nearby Hetch Hetchy Valley District serves 2.4 million Californians by pumping water from near Yosemite over the hills and west to San Francisco.
We should have a foot of grass out here right now, a foot of green grass.
But what do you have?
Nothing. 2 inches of nothing.
Ranchers like Frank Imhoff question whether the hard decisions he'll have to make on the farm will be required of nearby population centers.
This is San Francisco water ground. There's 2 reservoirs back here. There's Hetchy Hetchy. The 2 million people that live in San Francisco are going to get drinking water. They're not going to waste an ounce of time for a farmer.
He made a point of showing our market-to-market crew what runs beneath his parched rangelands, a massive water pipe destined for coastal cities.
Here again, who's going to win this battle? This water, will it ever stop? If those dams like you saw yesterday are empty and we don't get snow, will this stop? And if it does, then what do those people do?
When President Obama visited California, he promised livestock disaster support from Washington, but had a warning not just for California, but the entire American West in the 21st century.
To start building new infrastructure, to start having new plans, to calibrate the baseline that we're working off of. And everybody, from farmers to industry to residential areas to the north of California and the south of California and every place in between, as well as the entire western region, are going to have to start rethinking how we approach water for decades to come.
For Market to Market, I'm Andrew Bott.
You can watch this story again on our Farmweek website. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You can also watch Farmweek stories on YouTube and Facebook. We'll also have a link to the Market to Market website where you can see the story as well as read the script. You can also find us on Twitter at twitter.com/Farmweek. And Leighton, in recent years, I've been spending a lot of time in North New Mexico and the Texas Panhandle. Normally, in their normal years, they get so little rain that it doesn't take much for them to slip into being a bad drought.
Right.
So now here they are in a situation where it is a bad drought. And like I said, eventually it may come to what's going to happen to the cities. There's just not going to be enough water to go around.
Sounds like it.